All right. You guys still hear me?
I have you, yeah.
All right, good. All right, good. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to make belabor it too much, but be on the lookout for a coordinated spin because gold has rallied too much. Whether it was permitted, whether it's encouraged, whether it's bricks really getting into our markets now, it's probably a little bit of all three of those things and more. But I truly believe, look, this is my environment, meaning when really big picture stuff manifests more granularly, like that's where I excel. And I'm not saying that I'm right now, but I am saying that those are the things that most of your analysts miss because on a regular day they know exactly what's going on, and I'm always looking for the craziness, right? Well, now we're in the craziness. So, and I'm saying to you that the the Bitcoin promotions, the press going from the mainstream press going from gold's going up. Isn't that cool? Isn't that something to gold's going up? When will it break? They're calling it a bubble now. It's not a bubble, but they're calling it a bubble because it's a negative connotation. It's just the way the press works. I'm actually of the opinion now that for real reasons, if I were running the Fed, right? God forbid, but if I was running the Fed, um, I would be worried about the stock market crapping out. And here's why. Or I'd be worried about the stock market trying to crap out, and then I'd have to rescue it. And here's why. Um, we're at a point, we've been at this point for years, but we're at a point even more so now where the Fed's going to ease, and when the Fed eases, stocks and gold go up. But gold is now outperforming stocks in the rally. And the press has picked up on that. And they're talking about it over the last 5 years, over the last 20 years, over the length of the ETF since it's been around. And those things start to permeate the culture. So um, Powell was at I think it was called the Adam Smith Award. They give each other awards all the time. It's like Oscars. And he was asked a question finally that that how does he feel about gold and what it's doing? And the framing of the question was, Greenspan would talk about gold and as an inflation harbinger or predictor or indicator. How do you feel about gold's price going up? And he said, I'm not going to talk about gold. I don't talk about gold or assets in general. So like, I don't talk about asset prices in general, and I'm not going to talk about that one specifically. And he was also referring to parenthetically Bitcoin. So that interaction is the first time, whether you think it's important or not, is a different story, but it's the first time that Powell had been asked about gold. And it wasn't in the mainstream media, but it was mainstream enough to be picked up on. Simultaneously, you have the stories in Bloomberg uh, covering silver, saying it's gone from silver is rallying, what's going on, to London is getting squeezed, to and they're very close to it. Indian India is squeezing us. India retail. It's kind of like uh, the dumb Indians are buying it. I mean, they're not saying that, but I know we all know how this works because we're gold people. It's like speculators are buying it, dummies are buying it. It's going to come back, that type of stuff. And when I see the headlines, I trade the headlines too. When I see the headlines do that, I truly feel that there's influences behind the scenes. You don't have to agree with me. That that makes me think that they're going to push back. And given the history of the Bank of International Settlements pushing back, uh, even if it's just to cap it temporarily, I think that's about to happen again. So I am, I guess, without a position, right? Without meaning I'm not bullish. I'm not short or long speculatively. Without a position, I'm saying that I think that they're going to hit it next week. I do, and I think they're going to hit it next week because Thursday was a nightmare. I don't know why it rallied $100. I mean, I know why it's been rallying since August, but I don't know why it picked Thursday to rally $100, 110, $112, but it rallied. And um, it picked Friday to sell off I remember saying Wednesday or Thursday. I remember saying Thursday, maybe Friday mornings open. I said, if this is truly a trend week, then we'll close on the highs for the week. And we did not close on the highs for the week. We made a new high, but we did not close on the highs. And they're desperate to not have things like that happen. You didn't want a new weekly. I mean, you got a new weekly high close, whether you like it or not, but it didn't close on the highs. They really want to make sure that they can do everything they can, any port in a storm, to. Uh, I think they're worried about gold again. Okay, and here's why. Speaking for Powell, I would be worried about gold. In 2008, when we had the financial crisis, people like to talk about the housing bubble, and it was a housing bubble, but there were other factors. But it was a housing bubble for a while, and there were other factors that that contributed to it. And in 2008, it was right after, you may or may not remember, it was right after the Beijing Olympic Games. Remember the summer games where they had the drums and all that stuff? It was a big production. And that was also the year that Beijing, I think, or China in general, was admitted to one of the World Trade Organizations that put them on the market for global oil. They were more involved with the WTO, more involved with trade, et cetera, et cetera. And it was during that time frame that Goldman was long oil, and they sensed people were weak, and they just pushed it up to like 145. And it was during that time you had stocks going up, the Fed cutting in September of I think '07, right? Because it was starting to come off. And then the market made a new high in '08, and then oil started spiking and interest rates started to go up, and the whole thing collapsed. Now, the reason I'm giving you that story is because this story, if you're a simple economist, is different. And that story is, well, energy's not rising. We don't have to worry about no, but gold is rising. And gold is now competing with stocks. People are putting money in GLD and SLV as opposed to bonds or stocks. And it's starting to worry them. That's my opinion. This is all my opinion. And I believe that they want it to cool off. So um, I think they're going to try and sit on it next week, or not necessarily lower, but sideways to lower. I'm not bullish. I'm long like among like silver calls that go off in 2 days. So that was when I took everything off. I put silver calls on again. So one tiny small thing they're not in the money. They're just like they're destroyed because I bought them near the highs. Um, but that's what I wanted to say. I'm going to answer a couple questions and then we'll go through the charts. Uh, Britt, can I comment on silver's rate of change volatility in this new phase, outperform, underperform gold? Yeah. There are two things to say about that. When silver outperforms gold, and it's an outperformer now. MSA will talk about that, and you're seeing the volatility and macro discretionaries along it. But when silver outperforms gold, people get excited. It's also, and I say this genuinely, in smaller moves, when silver outperforms gold, it's very fractal, not fractal. When silver outperforms gold, it's usually the end of a rally. I'm not saying that here. What I'm saying is that whenever you had, remember the market, which is basically CTAs? Well, CTAs would buy gold first and it would go up. And then they'd say, oh, silver's cheap. And they'd buy that. And all the funds would buy gold first. And then silver would, and then everyone early in the game, people buy gold and sell silver. People buy gold and sell silver. People buy gold and sell silver. And then they go, oh, silver's cheap. And someone comes in and says, I think I'll buy silver. And then I'll stop out the shorts in silver. And then silver will just overshoot gold. And typically, almost like a stochastic or RSI indicator, that would show that it was overbought because gold would stop going up because it was just too expensive and then people didn't have the money. They didn't have a lot of money allocated, and silver would start to go up and it would eclipse gold in terms of performance because it's a smaller market because people like to shit on it when they're buying gold, and then eventually they cover. Happens all the time. Like Brexit was a big example of that. Gold rallied, and then Brexit happened, and then silver took off. Why? Because everyone was shorting silver to buy gold. Back then, I didn't see it that way, but I knew that silver rallying would be near the end. So gold rallies, silver rallies, and that's in the cycles of the investment cycle for precious metals. Uh, the So if you want to take that concept and widen it out fractally, um, you you would say to yourself, and it's consistent with what Michael Oliver says as well. You would say to yourself that if you believe that silver is about to outperform gold, its beta is about to get a lot bigger, and it's about to catch up. I'm paraphrasing Michael when he says that. This is silver's moment to have a really big move in 6 months. That piece that he wrote or that I wrote about his work. Um, uh, he's not saying this, but I'm saying it. When you say that silver's about to get more volatile than gold and really catch up, you are also implying, going back to that fractal concept, that we could be near the end. And if you look at what Oliver says, he did say several times that it could happen quickly. So over the paraphrase is over the next 2 quarters, so call it 6 months, over the next 6 months, silver could double or triple, right? And that's just, there's nothing bearish about that, obviously. But that's also me saying, yeah, you're getting a little bit of a blow off top in the complex. So maybe we get what Michael says. Hopefully we do. We get the next blow off top 3 to 6 months, or we don't. And if we don't, that means it's the top for a while. And then you may hear Michael say something like, I'm not quoting him, right? But you may hear Michael say something like, well, short-term momentum indicators backed off. And so the big picture of my 2 to 3 times is still there, but maybe it'll move out a couple weeks, maybe move out a couple months. I don't know. But I do believe that it lines up from a bearish and a bullish point of view that when silver's volatility, now I'm going to answer your question, Britt, right? When silver's volatility increases, people think it's going to catch up. But Michael is also quick to say that it's going to catch up and overperform probably immensely. But if it happens, it could be short lived, right? So the flip side of that, the bearish side is go back and you look through history. When silver outperforms gold in this manner, it's usually at the end of a cycle. So if it's fractal, then it's a big cycle. So I would prefer now. I'll give you my preference. I would prefer that silver does not outperform. I would prefer that because I think this is going to go on for years, and I'm not long enough now. You know what I mean? So that's my bias. I would prefer that Powell would say something like, "I'm not going to cut rates," and gold and silver get hit. I really would prefer that because gold and silver would get hit, silver would get hit more, and then I'd say, "Okay, we've cleaned out all the hot, stupid money, and now let's go back in." So that's my whole story. But does that make a little bit of sense? Who was that? Britt? That was Britt, right? Does that help a little bit? Am I still here? People still hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Britt, are you still there? Maybe he's on mute. Maybe he typed it in. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Short term is difficult trading. Yeah, Britt. Like short term for you, not necessarily you, but short term for many people is 1 week to 1 month, you know? Uh, um, yeah, got you, Brett. I see the messages now. Short term for me is 1 hour to 1 day. So for me, short-term trading is actually good if I want to do it. I don't want to do it now, but short-term trading is actually good. It's that 1 week to 1 month shit. I have no idea right now. Like usually when I get that Bollinger Band signal, what did I give you that Bollinger Band signal like 8 weeks ago, right? Okay, the first 5 weeks I was like, yeah, this is fine. And after that, I'm like, I have no idea why it's doing this. So I mean, that's the sign of the market. Okay, so that's it. Uh, Scott, non-conspiratorial observation, tail significantly bid on Thursday. Sign of risk managers taking over. Friday sell-off followed. Scott, are you talking about options when you said tail?
Yeah. Hi, Vince. Yes.
So
Out of the
you
money option.
you're talking about the
So
call one, the call
beyond
tail?
beyond the 15 delta.
Yeah,
It was
what we call
calls,
the
but the
tail.
thing that scuppers the theory was also puts. But yeah. But I
So
mean
was it
it got
puts that were big as well?
yeah, which